Welcome back to the channel. Sorry for the lack of videos for those that were waiting. I've been busy throughout the winter and I really haven't had a chance to film anything here. But we're back at the old Belarus, and for those who don't know, this actually is the forerunner to the Belarus 600 series for those people in North America. So why we're back here? Well, those who remember I did, replace the seal on the hydraulic pump. Well, we still have a problem. I was working throughout the winter and I keep noticing the oil level keeps rising. Now, if you closely pay attention, you see it's right over full, like really over full. That's because this pump is just fuel barred. Like, there's something internally wrong with the pump because it allows hydraulic oil to seep into the engine while the engine is still. Like this kind of problem, like the only way to overget this problem, we have a new pump now, and we're also going to address this leak issue here because you can see there's hydraulic oil dripping from this joint, or I don't know what to call it, but well, basically it's a hydraulic joint. But well, there's a problem. I actually need to take the entire pipe off and see if I can tighten the threads or something, because it's not a major leak, but it's just annoying. Also, now in order to drain, now those who have watched the previous video know how to drain, somewhat to drain this, basically this hydraulic tank here. Now there is a plug here that's 17mm wrench, that's 3/4 inch wrench for the plug. Now I did remove some of these plates here in order so that the hydraulic oil would flow straight into the oil catching pan. Basically this is a plastic oil pan, so it can catch all the oil that comes out, because hydraulic oil is expensive and it's a brand new oil here that has had almost virtually no working hours, so we're gonna salvage that. And the problem I had previously was I used tunnels, I used hoses, and it would still overflow, because once I open that plug, the oil is gonna come down like from a freaking river. You can't stop it. So I'm gonna try to basically drain the hydraulic tank first, take out some of the pipes, and start taking off the pump. Now, I'm not gonna film that because I've already explained in the previous video how this does, but this is one of the main problems with these hydraulic pumps that have a direct attachment to the engine. If it's externally attached to something else, it won't flow into the engine, but these ones, I don't know, like basically if that pump's worn out, it's just dead. I mean, the only way I see it is like probably this pump was bad before, but now it's really bad. Like I don't want to run even the engine because there's so much hydraulic oil now in the engine oil bay that it might destroy something. So I'm gonna drain the hydraulic tank and be back with you when I have dismantled this rig even further. Alright, and sometime later we actually have taken out all the oil from the hydraulic system and from the oil pan. Now, those curious how much oil did seep into the engine. Now, this is a 25 liter jug, and 17 liters is approximately here. So I think like I have had like 3 liters of hydraulic oil seeping into the engine, but that's enough to contaminate the engine oil and, well, cause some problems. Also, I took the hydraulic filter out. Well, 4 years ago I did the job. Well, those who don't know, it's a very basic hydraulic filter. It has these brass screens. There's your check valve for the overflow. So, but well, I was first like, that doesn't look really that bad, but look what's actually beneath. Let me just show you here. Look how much grout is actually between the brass washers. Like, these are cleanable with brake cleaner or gasoline, but man, like 4 years, and yeah, I think like this was actually a good idea that the pump failed, because now I can get to clean this. And because I have a new pump, I don't want any of this old crud starting to live its own life. Look, like there you go. Yeah, that's some nasty stuff that needs to be cleaned out. But people are asking me like, where's the filter located? Because, you know, a lot of people never know. Well, the hydraulic filter on these tractors and the 600 series is located here. Like, this is the hydraulic tank. It's around 20 liters of capacity. Now, here we have actually this is an hex, 36 millimeter, and these are 12 millimeters, all four. So tightening them is, I think, like, they have to be hand tight, so it's around 20 Newton meters, maybe, I don't know, because I haven't found any real specs. But you just take this banjo bolt out, section of the nuts, banjo bolt, and you take these 4 bolts, 12 millimeter head bolts out, and the whole assembly comes just out that way. Now, the only thing I'm gonna say that, because this is pressurized, this has to be really tight. Like, I don't plan using any more copper washers here. I'm gonna replace them all with hydraulic washers because I'm a fan of those. And though they like rarely leak, the copper washers, sometimes they leak, sometimes they don't, and because they're like really hard and stiff, you just have to preheat them in order to make them like fully seal. Like, there's some other shenanigans as well that I may go into, but right now we have drained all the fluids. We have not caused ecological catastrophe of any sorts. And what I'm going to do with the old oil, well, I guess the only thing I can do with it is to take it to a proper place where it gets disposed. It's just into a recycling center. So I don't have an oil burner, so yeah, that's where it's going. Also, I need to make a new gasket for the hydraulic filter. Get some new, this is the copper washer. I'm gonna replace them with these hydraulic washers. This one's a bit, yeah, has seen life, so this one also has to be gone. I am gonna put this step back, and I am gonna finish for today, but you're still gonna see what the new pump looks like. And I'm not gonna show the installment because we have already gone over that in another video. So yeah, just going to do the things I can do right now. All right, we're back with the pumps. So as you remember, this was the old one. I changed the front seal, and I noticed that all these bolt holes were filled with hydraulic oil. So I tried to tighten them, so I found out that some of them were really loose. But I think the main reason why it's failed is that there's actually a seal between the casing and between the plate, and the seal has probably failed. Now, this is the new pump. It's virtually identical. I mean, there's some casting differences, but I did check out all the bolts have been tightened according to the specs, so no problem here. But I am gonna say, if you're going to buy such a pump, and take the plugs off, there's some plastic plugs here and here, then my recommendation is to drain it from any oil that's in it. And there may be alloy like not savings, but shavings inside the pump. So I used just standard brake cleaner and drained all that old oil and rotated the pump with the new hydraulic oil I'm going to use. And I got most of the alloy shavings out, but there's still some sparkly stuff coming, so this pump needs some working in before we'll get completely rid of them, because this is a new pump and this is the factory that produces them, and I think it's located in Ukraine. And that was the old price, and the new price I've got no idea. But if someone's interested where this pump came from, well, this is it. I got this pump right after the military incursion started, because I was unsure if I would get any new pumps at all. I mean, I could try to rebuild this one, but well, I can turn this with the hand. It's worn. But this one I can't turn with the hand at all. Like, that's basically how you can tell how worn the pump is. This is a brand new one. This is an old worn one. And well, I guess all that's now left after the cleanup. Also, I flat filed this surface so it would the mating surface would be good with the mating surface on the pump. And I think the only thing I can do now is just install the pump and see where we go from there. Well, here we are again. The hydraulic system seems to hold oil. The machine ran perfectly fine, but I was actually using the decompression lever, which mounts here onto the valve cover, and I was hearing like this very clunky noise. And when I took the valve cover off, I discovered that one of the oil loop tubings is completely sheared off. So I don't know when this happened, and some of these valves, yeah, they're a bit loose. But another thing I discovered is also like these studs are completely loose here as well. So I don't know what happened, but or when it happened, but this is something that has probably recently happened. And now I'm just gonna take the rocker arms off and gonna figure out if there's something I can salvage or I just need to replace the whole assembly here. But the reason why I went there was I actually have like look at these hoses were like 3 years old and they're just completely cracked. The only hose that holds coolant is this lower one. All the other ones are leaking. So right now I'm draining the uh I've also drained the fuel tank because we're going to replace that one, and we also need to replace all the hoses. And now that I into the engine, I'm gonna see what's going to happen with this valvetrain here. Like, yeah, this actually can seize your valves if this oiling system is broken. So I'm gonna take it apart and we're gonna see what's gonna happen after that. Okay, I took the rocker arms off and look what I found. Fourth and third cylinder decompression arms have been broken off. I don't know what's happened, but it seems that something went wrong. But this is a really recently happened thing because I hear like when I started the tractor after the oil changes, I noticed this rattling sound and I was like, man, this doesn't sound right. And thank God I did look under the valve cover. Now, these rocker arms, they are savable, but yeah, look. These ones, I need to actually get another set of these arms, which basically, these ones I haven't seen as spares in the stores, so yeah, this just sheared off. These ones are actually, I think the only ones, yeah, even the rocker arms don't move freely, so I guess I get just another set. This one may be just unsalvageable in the end, but I'm gonna dig further and see what I can find. Well, hello here, and a few weeks later, and still haven't done much, but I took the push rods out while I was installing the new rocker arms, and I discovered that these are actually the original D65 push rods. So this is how they look, and I discovered like these that are in my tractor or that engine, these are the older style D48 push rods, which are 3 millimeters longer. So that explains why the valve lash here was rocking at that big. So I decided to go with these original push rods because they came with these rocket arms. So I know this all is in factory specs, so I don't actually, I may not need to, but I may still have to adjust the valves again. But I'm going with these ones because these are shorter and they correspond also to the valve lash here. These ones are longer, so if I put the longer ones with these ones, I would definitely have to use this setting here, which was on the old Pushrod. So there's nothing wrong with them. They're like, yeah, they're greasy, but none of them is actually that any crooked or bent. Well, they do match up. These ones I'm gonna clean up and put them in, and then I'm gonna also assemble these rocker arms so we can finally move forward, because I am really in need of that tractor right now. If you would know, I'm in a hurry. Well, I've hooked up now all the components, and for those that are interested to see, this is actually how it now looks. Now, I had to actually put 10/9 strength nuts. These are M12 nuts, not fine thread, just coarse thread nuts. And I actually had to make a new pipe for the older style oiling for the rocker arms, but I'm not going to hook up the decompression, and let me explain why. Because some of these valves are not, all the valves are a bit, ones are higher and other ones are not. So probably what's happened here is somewhere along the line someone grinded the valves way too deep into the head, so they are not equal, because I had to 2 times adjust these rocker arms according to the uh valves I have. The older push rods I'm gonna keep, but I'm decided to use the newer style ones because why not? They're just laying around and I don't have any much use. But yeah, another thing, I'm not gonna hook up the decompression because I see there is a issue here, and it might be that because the valves are not all adjusted, I mean they're all on different heights. This means I would have to adjust each of these intake valves separately, like these, loosen these nuts and make sure it works. So I'm not just gonna hook it up, so you don't need much decompression on this engine. It will start without it as well, if you're, unless your, starting engine clutch is slipping or spinning, then this thing will go eventually. So yeah, I think I have done everything here. So for those who are interested how you find the top dead center, now this crank pulley here, I don't, I checked, this one doesn't have any markings, and you can't even hook up a wrench here because this one only has a hand crank. But my hand crank is being blocked by these hydraulic cylinders, so I can't use the hand crank. So what's the next best option? Just use the pony engine and watch what the valves are doing on first cylinder, and then you go from 1, 3, 4, 2. That's the firing order of this engine. So pretty much the same as on a formal, so not that different. There's a lot of videos out there that show on these newer D65 engines, they actually have a marking on the crank pulley. Here I can find the needle and there's no markings, it's just blank. So yeah, I had to use a bit of a different approach, but I got the job done. I made sure that the valve lashes are, I will say it's let me see, 0.13 millimeters. So you should rather leave them on the older tractor on the loose side than way too tight, because the valves will tighten up once the engine warms up. The backlashes get less and less. Usually on the newer engine, it's 0.20 millimeters for both intake and exhaust valves. So when you're having an old engine like I have, which been rebuilt God knows when, well, it's 1989 and it's a way long time ago, then you should leave them rather on the loose side. And I'm thinking of actually, I think it got good. I'm gonna do another check here, but it seems like the valve lashes are all now good. So I can hook up the um I can hook up all the cooling system and probably do some other work as well, because, well, I kind of need this machine soon. But I'm still gonna do a checkup that I didn't mess up anything or left anything loose. Like, there's like a ton of things that can go wrong, but don't be afraid to take this work, because the valve job on this engine is the easiest thing of all. You just need to really watch what you're doing or document when you're taking anything apart. So, not a big deal. So I'm gonna do all assemble it together, and I'm gonna do a first test run without the valve cover on, so I can see that all the push rods are getting oil and the oil's getting distributed. So that's very important. So be right back. Oh, you're still here. Well, I don't remember why I didn't record the ending of the video, because I obviously had something else in my mind. But to recap this, the hydraulics work. There's only one small leak, and that's from the filter housing. We need another housing, or we just need a better gasket. Both are available in the Ukraine, but I don't know how I'm going to get them shipped into Estonia. That's something I need to figure out. Or we may have to just make something ourselves. The valve clutter and the valve problems you saw are not that common on the 600 series. It's actually, the problem starts from something else, and this problem is usually when the decompression lever is installed in the wrong way. So basically, if you want to change the gasket or do anything with the lever, you have to take the valve cover off. If you, in my case, I probably didn't put it on the right way, and when I used it, I actually accidentally got it over the detents, and that's why we had the broken shaft inside. But luckily, these parts weren't, you know, that kind of a problem to find. But I think the reason why I didn't film it fully was I wanted actually to show you how the valves, rock back and forward with an open valve cover. We can do that in the future, but I'm not doing it right now. But yeah, we can conclude by the end of this video that we have 2 or more successful repairs. And yeah, I can actually move on to the other projects. So good to have this video done. So see you around soon.